Hello and thanks for joining us with this episode of the GrowVC Everyone Funding Startups podcast. I'm your host Marcus, and today we're talking about the experiences of entrepreneur Clarke Nobiletti about the startup Rolling Globe. And Clarke, thanks for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So would you start off by giving a short introduction to you as a person for our audience?
Sure. So my name is Clarke Nobiletti. I'm born and raised in New York City. I've been working in finance for the last 4 years, and now I work for Rolling Globe as the CEO. Rolling Globe is a booking engine for tour operators.
Let's start off by focusing on Rolling Globe. What chain of events led to the inception, and could you tell us the story behind your startup?
About 6 years ago, I was studying in Florence, Italy with my co-founder. And it was there that we realized there was a ton of information that was going by the wayside between young travelers who were looking for places to go, but traditional travel guides weren't really there, didn't really fill that void. So it started 6 years ago, and we started thinking about that problem. And then about 2 years after that, we really started to try to put together some ideas of a website that could collect all of that kind of unstructured word-of-mouth knowledge that's passing between youth travelers. So we got together with a third partner and started to build Rolling Globe as a user-generated social travel guide. So it took us about 6 months to build the platform, aggregate content, and try to start getting a buzz. And again, we were in our early 20s and in New York City at the time. And we launched our first beta product and put it out to some family and friends, did a little promo for a trip to Oktoberfest, and then we jumped over to Europe to do a promo tour. So the promo tour was kind of a few parties around Europe to get in front of that study abroad or youth backpacker crowd and see what people thought. And we were able to get it sponsored by some hotels, some tour operators, and some venues so that we could kind of at least pay for half of this promo tour trip kind of market test. So we found an audience, and they started to like what we were offering. But the one group that liked it the most were the tour operators. They were looking to us saying, how can you help us market our products in the U.S. to these young backpackers who come over here but have no idea that we exist? So as a preface, these tour operators are small to medium businesses that normally pitch their product right on the streets of, in this case, it was Florence or Rome or Barcelona or Madrid, and kind of recreate the experience that they're offering by telling you how great, whether it's how great food was in Tuscany or how great skiing in the Alps were. But that was really their main sales tactic. And so we actually sat down with a few of them, and they were asking us about marketing in New York because they had liked what we had done with the promo tour, just being three guys who kind of came up with it out of nowhere. And they offered us a job in New York to be their marketing department in New York. So we told them to kind of slow down, and we would be back in a year with a way for these tour operators to market through Rolling Globe. And that's kind of where the epiphany came through of we could have a travel guide where we capture an audience of prime consumers or prime travelers looking for not only content, but actually the experience itself, and then having tour operators who offer that experience and kind of including them in on the conversation of where to go and what to do. So that's kind of the background of how we started Rolling Globe and the epiphany type moment of what we originally started out with, and then now what we're here with 2 years later or 3 years later.
Yeah, I guess that's a very interesting approach to getting close to your market, doing that promo tour. And that was sort of a very early stage pivot in your business model. So
Yes.
How was that? I mean, you can't anticipate something like that. So how was the experience of kind of going there and seeing that wait a minute, maybe our target audience isn't what we thought. Maybe it's something completely different.
And it was, one of the first things when we sat down to build our website was someone asked the question, do you ever anticipate taking a payment? And, at first we're like, no. We're never going to take a payment because we don't want our view or our editorial spun by the prospect of receiving money from somebody. And we thought we would be able to run this with advertising. There were a couple of social networks around the travel vertical that were starting to get strong, and we thought, we just piggyback on those. But we had no idea that we would ever completely change to an e-commerce model. Another reason that we changed that to an e-commerce model is because we realized the barriers of the online travel business with, kind of right in the thick of it. So one of the biggest costs for operating a travel business or a travel content business is paying for editors to be on the cutting edge. And as a bootstrap startup with a couple first-time entrepreneurs, there's really no way we could fund that besides talking to as many of our friends in our network to supply user-generated content. So to address that, we realized that you can write up going to the Eiffel Tower or what the Eiffel Tower is so many times, but if you can recreate an experience about going on the Eiffel Tower, going to the top, having a bottle of champagne and looking at the night lights, that's a different experience. And that's an experience that a tour operator or a travel guide could offer that's totally different than just what you'd read about, whether it's the history or seeing a picture of it. And we realized that that's valuable content too, and we could use that to create a travel guide of something where you could find and book experiences as opposed to just read about what's there.
Okay, what is it that you want to do then for your customers? Because if we focus on the tour operators, how do you want to make their life easier?
We kind of have this tenet that these tour operators are creating like fantastic experiences, but they just are too hard to find right now. So lots of them don't even have a website. Some of them that do have a website, it's really difficult to get people that are interested in a walking food tour in, let's say, Madrid. And you're just not going to get the critical mass of traffic that's out there to find that one tour operator's website. But at the same time, that one tour guide that runs that trip runs a fantastic trip. And our goal is to help showcase those trips with the best tools possible to kind of recreate that experience and collect them all together so that together they can have a decent amount of traffic coming in to actually, I don't want to say expose, but shed light on all the different opportunities out there. So for us, it's a matter of helping the people discover these experiences and making that as easy as possible.
And you've been operational now for about 3 years, and we talked about where you've come from, but what's next for Rolling Globe? Where are you going?
We launched our booking engine actually 6 months ago, and that was in the middle of September, and we caught a lot of success selling products pretty early. So these products were sold as either a special interest or whether it's a surf safari or skydiving in the Alps, or also as like a limited time. So Oktoberfest was a big seller. And we realized that as we started to gain more and more tour operators, we're working with about 100 right now, that you don't want to lump them all together. They all kind of deserve their own specialty or their own focus. And so the next stage is that as we continue to build our inventory and continue to build our partners with all these tour operators, we want to find a way that we can segment the experiences they're offering so that when people come and find them, they can actually see, like they have a better idea of, instead of just looking at a search bar, they can see what type of inspiration is out there for different types of experiences. So with that said, our next step moving forward is we're creating a series of satellite sites that are run by Rolling Globe but feature just a specific genre of travel. So our first satellite site was launched actually last Friday, and it's called skiandsnowdeals.com. And it's basically a way for all of our tour operator partners that offer any type of ski resort or ski package to showcase those trips in a more focused area.
All right, let's talk about maybe not the most positive thing, but challenges, since everybody knows that the startup road is rocky. So what are some challenges from your road that you've encountered so far?
One of the biggest ones, I was actually talking with my co-founders